Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Marcus here at Amada Senior Care. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on this beautiful Tuesday. We have actually a lot of people joining right now, so we'll start here in just a minute. So while we get going, a couple things. Please let us know if you can hear us loud and clear. You can do that in the chat box, which we have open here, or in the question box. And it'd be great for you to let us know if you can hear us loud and clear. We're trying this new microphone, and it's this big, huge podcasting microphone. And Matt and I are here going to be talking very closely to each other. So we want to make sure that you guys can hear us okay. So Michael, you can hear. Angela, you can hear. Okay, great. Guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And by the way, what's good about this is that question box is where you can go to ask questions. And this webinar is for you. If you have questions for us, we want to hear them. And this is a great chance to ask Matt any questions that you may have. And there's a couple ways to ask questions. One is to type in the questions right there in the question box, like a couple of you guys have done, or you can raise your hand. The nice thing about raising your hand is you can ask a follow-up, because what we'll do is if you raise your hand, we'll unmute you and you'll be able to ask a question live, which is kind of cool. So let's go ahead and get started. Looks like we have some people joining still, but we want to be respectful of your time. So my name is Marcus Mora, and I am one of the founders of Amada Franchise. And we started the business back in 2012, and now we have about 120 locations throughout the United States with about roughly, 80 entrepreneurs who own those territories. And when we started the business back in 2012, really there were two people that were instrumental in helping our franchisees get going, and those two were Chad and Tafa, the two founders of Amada Senior Care, who started the business here in Orange County, built a huge business here in Orange County, and in 2012 decided to start franchising. And that decision came because there was a friend of ours who saw the success of Amada here in Orange County and said, hey, I want to become a franchisee in Washington. His name is Robert Christensen, and he became our very first franchisee ever in 2012. He did phenomenally well, and back in 2012, we only had two franchisees. It was Robert Christensen and then Ken Jensen. And those two guys are still our top performing franchisees. They're in their 6th year or 7th year of business now, doing incredibly well. One of them in one territory over 3 million, the other one over 5 million in his territory. You can see that in our franchise disclosure document. And our franchisees in 2013, 14, and 15, we grew slowly. So again, in 2012, we had 2 franchisees. In 2013, we added, another 8. In 14, maybe another 15, and we kept growing. Now, what happens is as we grow our franchise, there is the problem of how do two guys, Chad and Tafa, as capable as they are, as knowledgeable as they are, how do they keep supporting our franchise partners? And so our team has grown. And initially, it was all people that knew Chad and Tafa, the folks that spent since 2007 growing our Orange County location. They became our support team here at Amada. So the same folks that build a business in Orange County were helping our franchisees build their business. And that worked up to a point. But now with over 100 franchise partners or 100 locations, we had to start looking outside of Amada Senior Care to bring somebody that could be an expert that could help our franchisees continue to grow. And that's where we find Matt Smith. And I'll let Matt tell you a little bit more about his background, but I'll tell you, it was interesting because we were really worried about this. We were worried that we wouldn't be able to find somebody who knew the Amada way of doing things, which is so interesting about entrepreneurs, right? You think like you're the only person who could ever do it, that nobody is as good as you. And we really felt that way about Chad and Tafa, that nobody would be as good as Chad and Tafa as helping our franchisees. And it's a great lesson for us that it's not true, right? There's obviously incredibly talented, great people outside of your own organization that if you find the right people, that they can do just as well or better than you. And that's Matt Smith. So Matt was a competitor of ours here in the Orange County market. So Matt, welcome to the call.
Great. Thanks, Marcos. Thanks, everybody jumping on the call. It's so exciting to be here.
Pretty cool, right?
It's unbelievable. Hopefully this new microphone doesn't make us sound like Darth Vader, right, as we're coming through. It sounds like we sound pretty clear.
I think it'll be okay. You might be a little fainter. There you go.
Yeah, make sure everyone can hear me.
There. I think we'll be okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But super excited to be on the call, kind of share my experiences, my role here with Amada. Just came off a little PTO, got to see my son in North Carolina. So
That's
it was,
nice.
it was really
Military.
good. Yeah, my son's in the Army, so it was really great to go visit him and just energized for today.
So here's what we want to do, guys. Matt is here because, and we've never done a call like this before. Usually our calls are with our franchisees or Chanatafa, and that's pretty much it, or me just talking. And we really thought, listen, there are a million ways for you to start a business and for you to make money, for you to serve your community. There really are. There's tons of ways you can do it. One of those ways might be acquiring a franchise, which gives you a ready-made platform. And out of all the franchises out there that you can choose, there is Amada. So again, there are so many ways to do it. And our point to you is, if you're going to start a franchise, you ought to really understand what that franchisor is going to provide for you, how they're going to help you be successful. And if you decide that a franchise is going to give you the extra edge, it's going to provide you with that platform you need to be successful, then that franchise may be worth your investigation, maybe worth your time and your investment. So we want to have Matt tell you a little bit about, once you guys go from talking to us, what we call in franchise development, where we're helping you look at the franchise. You come to Discovery Day, and you sign a franchise agreement, and you pay a $48,000 franchise fee. That is not trivial. It's a lot of money. Once you do that, then you join our team here, and Matt is the one who leads that team, and he walks you through that process. So we wanted to have Matt share with you what that process looks like. But before we do that, Matt, tell us about your background and how you stumbled onto Chanatafa.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much. So for the last, say, 10, 12 years, I've been spending my career in senior health care. I started out, I was leaving actually the automotive industry in 2009. As some of you may remember, the automotive industry began to contract. Lending was a little bit more difficult. And I was looking for a new opportunity. And I went to a good friend of mine. I said, hey, I don't know exactly what you do, but if you know of anything, and she worked for a company called Vitas Healthcare. And she said, you need to come work for us. And I said, what's Vitas? And she goes, it's hospice. And I said, great, what's hospice? Yeah. And she goes, don't worry about it. You're perfect. You need to come work with us. So I applied, and that was in 2009. Worked for Vitas in sales and marketing for a couple of years here in Orange County. And that really led me to get a great sense of what senior health care really means, what it really is, and what resources exist for folks who are looking for additional care.
And you had zero experience in healthcare.
Zero. I had sales experience, and prior to coming into healthcare, I worked in the automotive space for about 7 or 8 years. But prior to that, listen to this, I was a youth pastor. So I worked at a church, right? So I went from church to automotive to healthcare. So I was quite the path. Yeah. But what I really learned through my experience at Vitas was really how to sit with a senior adult and help them assess where they are and what kind of care they were looking for, and how to help them make good choices for their health care. Mm-hmm. That led me to working with an organization here based in the Inland Empire, not too far from Orange County, and it was a senior healthcare company. It was a home care agency, privately owned, had some private equity backing, and I went in as a sales rep. And I began marketing, senior healthcare, home care services into the same accounts that I was in before, but offering a different service, kind of catching them, the seniors prior to, looking at hospice and end of life care. And I really felt like I hit my stride because I really got to help a family sort of sort through, again, all these different options and give them great clarity on where they are now and what might be coming down the road for them. And then helping them really identify what resources they had access to.
So you enjoyed the home care side, the non-medical home care side, better than the hospice side of things?
I better may not be the right word, but what I found was I was actually a better resource for the families because I was catching them earlier in, say, their decline. Yeah. And I was really able to say, hey, well, if you want mom to stay home, let's look at what that would look like. and let's talk about bringing in a caregiver now. But I also got to help them sort through, hey, hospice may be on the horizon for
So
you.
you have that knowledge of hospice. Yeah.
Totally. So
Right.
I was really able to give them this really holistic approach to the care of their loved one, whether it was their spouse or their mom or their dad. So it really kind of rounded out for me like, hey, this is really great. So I spent 2 years kind of in the field doing some sales, and then kind of became a sales trainer. I developed our hiring processes for our sales reps.
Oh, wow.
I developed our training program for our new sales reps. And then I was in the field half the time kind of managing my own accounts and half the time managing the reps. That eventually led to, through just a crazy set of circumstances, they asked me to run the company, which was great. So I spent 2 years as the president of the company. Now, the interesting thing in all of that is that for those 5 years, I competed with Chad and Tafa every day.
That's right.
Every single day, we were in the same accounts, in the same families' homes, working with the same discharge planners and social workers and referral sources to really compete against each other and say which company was better. And we joke now that I would see some of their stuff, like their marketing materials, and I would steal it and then recreate it.
Right.
But then a month later, they did the same thing with some of the stuff that we created, and they rebranded it. But it reaffirmed that I was on the right path.
Hey, by the way, so one thing we always talk to folks that are looking at Amada is this weird industry where you end up becoming friends with your competitors.
Yeah.
It's competition, right?
Yeah.
It's cutthroat, like you really want that business.
Yeah.
But did you feel like that was true, that you became friends with your competitors here in Orange County?
Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of, in California and Orange County, it's a compacted market.
Right.
And so we're constantly running into other home care agencies. Some you go, they're probably not a great agency, but there's 2 or 3 where if it wasn't me, I'd be totally comfortable referring to those other agencies. And Chad and Tafa was on the top of the list. They were really, really good at what they did. But beyond that, I knew that their values aligned with mine, their personal values. And I knew that they ran their business the way we ran our business, which was it always the thing that mattered the most was what was best for the client.
Yeah.
That's what mattered the most. And so I knew that if it was a client that was out of my service area or I couldn't take care of, that if I called Chad and Tafa, that I would have no problems doing that and that they would take great care of that family. So I spent 5 years really learning a few things, 5, almost 6 years with the company that I was with. And that was everything from opening a brand new account, going in cold, to understanding the complexities of a P&L for an organization that generated $9.5 million a year in annual revenue. I went from knowing nothing to knowing pretty much everything, and how to assess and dissect an organization from staffing to revenue and profit and loss, projecting future growth, understanding where markets were and projecting where the market trends were going, and then realigning my organization to meet those market trends.
And that company at $9 million was only home care.
Only home care.
Just like Chanatafa's roughly $9 million business in Orange County, only home care. You
only
guys
home care.
Hospice or medical services, nursing, all home care.
All caregivers in the homes for families providing, assistance with their loved ones.
That's what's interesting. If you guys can hear what Matt was talking about, and that's what we see in most markets throughout the United States. There are in every market 2, 3, 4 maybe companies that are like the big, really good companies, and then the rest are just sort of right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the barrier to entry for home care in most states pretty low.
Yeah.
Right. There's a fee. There may be some licensing. But one of the things that I love about Amada, and so this is really kind of going back to my career. I was working for a hospice company again, and I had reconnected, and I've known Chad and Tafa probably going on 8, 9 years. Kind of reconnected with them, and they said, hey, you should come work for us.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm kind of working for this hospice company. I go, let me give them a year. They had invested in me, so I wanted to give that investment its run. And they said, great, well, call us in a year and let's get connected. Literally a year to the day I called, and they said, yeah, we still have a spot for you. And I was flabbergasted, right? but it just showed that they really felt I could bring value to the organization. So we made the transition. It's been almost a year.
It's been almost a year.
Yeah, it'll be a year, May 15th, so in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so feel free to throw me a party. I'm okay with that. It was really a really great experience over the last year. And yes, there are a few really strong competitors, but the barrier to entry is pretty low, right?
Yeah.
And in some states, there's no licensure. You get a business license, you hire a caregiver, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
The problem is that most of these organizations, the ones that fall off after number 3, so 4 through like 100, they're not good business owners.
Right.
Right? They can manage a very small and a very select group of clients, but in terms of growth, expansion, scalability, they're really limited. And the organizations they work with may not give them the support they need to move beyond, being a small mom and pop shop.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that attracted us so much to Matt. One thing about Amada Senior Care, and you can see this in our franchise disclosure document, is we're not the type of organization that wants to have thousands of franchisees throughout the United States that each do, $800, $900, $1 million a year in revenues. What's kind of funny about this industry is there's a lot of folks out there that get to about 1 million or 1.5 in revenues.
Yeah.
And they kind of coast.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
I got 1.5 million in revenues. I got referrals coming in. Life is good.
Yeah.
You kind of replace your corporate America income, right? And that wasn't us. And as we interviewed folks that could run our training team, we wanted to have somebody that had an experience of what is it like to run a $9-10 million organization, because you have to run that organization differently from $1 million organization.
Yeah.
So you were just getting into that. What do you think are the differences between running $1 million business in home care and a $10 million business in home care?
So that's a really, really great question. So the way when I work with a new franchise partner that comes into the Amada system, there's certain things that we want to track, and we have certain markers we want them to look at, like how long does it take to get licensed if you're in a licensure state?
Right.
How long does it take to get your first client? And then there's these revenue markers that we look at to go, hey, we're moving in the right direction based on revenue and time. When you get that $0 to $1 million, what I call that's your building stage. Right? Yeah. You're building a company.
That's not the end goal.
No, you're building.
You're just building
But when you get to that $1 million, it's somewhere between that $1.5 million, you move from building to now we're growing. And there's a big difference. If I'm building an organization, I can actually build it with myself and maybe one other person.
Yeah.
Right. I can have a scheduler who's working on, staffing my few cases. I can go out and bring in a couple new clients a month. I can hire a few new caregivers.
You're saying it might be crazy.
Yeah.
But you could almost do $1 million in revenue. Not, by the way, guys, we're not saying you're going to.
Yeah.
That if you invest in this business, we're talking about just in home care. We've seen companies do this.
Yeah.
But it is possible for you to have a 2-person full-time team at the $1 million.
Right.
You'll be full out. You'll be
going
busy,
crazy. Your hair's on fire every day. But it's possible.
Yeah.
But once you get out of the building phase and now you're growing, now you're looking at multiple staff. You're looking at how do I retain really great caregivers. You're looking at how do I position myself in a marketplace that's saturated with competition, whether they're good or bad competition, it still exists. So how do I position myself to grow? But really what it comes back to, in my experience, both in home care, hospice, and really in any industry, is who do I work for that's going to support my growth? That's going to help me understand where I am right now, because that person has been in that same spot, and they're going to help me identify what roadblocks are coming up that I can't see, and how do I navigate around those roadblocks, and educate me, train me, and support me, and give me the tools I need so that I can grow and expand.
So the mentorship, right? Like
Absolutely.
That's the thing, is you're either going to spend, which is funny. It's okay. There are entrepreneurs that they want to go and they want to be the Lewis and Clark. Like they want to go and they're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it might take them a little bit longer.
Yeah.
They're going to go make mistakes.
Yeah.
But they're happy to be Lewis and Clark.
Yeah.
Or you can find a mentor.
Yeah.
That somebody who's already been there.
Yeah, a mentor, or like a system. And the system says, hey, you're going to do this, this, and this. You're going to do A, B, and C, and that's going to get you to this marker. And once you hit that marker, now we're going to do A, B, C, but we're going to add D, E, and F. And that's going to get me to the next marker. And when I hit that marker, now we're going to add 1, 2, and 3 to my A through F, and that's going to get me to the next marker. So there's a system in place that you can kind of roadmap out based on time, because of the experience that that system has developed and the experience of working with franchise partners in multiple markets and an understanding of the market, where it is, where it's going, how to position yourself, that you can have a roadmap that identifies your growth pattern. And then you can go, okay, that I can achieve that. And it's going to help you along the way.
Okay, now guys, this is obviously a call for you. So you can type in your questions for Matt. And we are monitoring the questions. So, and it's in your question box. Now, I do also have the chat box open, but probably the best place for you to ask questions is in the question box right there. So, Matt, what do you think is the hardest thing for an entrepreneur that signs a franchise agreement and opens their business? What is the biggest 1, 2, or 3 roadblocks you see from our entrepreneurs?
Oh, man. I really think that with an entrepreneur, like shiny objects are the one thing that distracts, because entrepreneurs are always thinking, right? What's next? What's coming up? And so sometimes what I've seen, even in my year here with Amada, is someone who comes into the system and says, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And they get away from what we call the recipe of success. And so I think if you can avoid chasing shiny objects a little bit, and understand that the system exists and it works, and you can work within that, I think then you really have a great chance to be successful and successful early. But I think it's like, if we think that, hey, I can do this, and I don't need your help, and I can go chase this thing, then I think that's probably honestly the biggest distraction and the biggest roadblock. Because entrepreneurs go, I've done it, and so I just need to do it again. But home care and senior health care is so unique. And just because you are successful in whatever industry you're currently in, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you're successful here. You have to be able to go, okay, tell me what I need to do and how do I do that, and then move forward that way.
You know, that reminds me, Robert Christensen, I remember with our first franchisee, Robert, he is a shiny object kind of guy. Like, Robert is all over the place. He would admit that to you. In fact, Robert has run out of gas twice while he was on the phone with me. Like, it's crazy. Right? But here's what's interesting about Robert. When he acquired the business back in 2012, he had this mindset, and he talks about this all the time, where for the first, I think, 2 years, he shut everything else off, all the shiny objects, and he did exactly what we told him to do. And what he knew, I don't know how he really knew this, but he knew that after a period of time, he would be able to start creating again. And now, you know, he has a foundation, he has a business, he's doing roughly $5 million in gross revenues with all of his territories combined, which is reported in our franchise disclosure document. So now he's creative again. He's the shiny object guy, but he has a base to be able to do it.
I think that's really critical, right? Is to go, what's my core business? Like, what am I, if I'm buying a franchise, and I know, you know, the folks on the call, this is discovery for them, right? And they have a lot of opportunities to look at franchises even outside of home care, right? Do I want to buy, you know, what's a hot franchise, like a yogurt shop?
Blaze Pizza.
Like a Blaze Pizza or
John's,
Jimmy John's, right? Do I want to make pizzas and sandwiches? And do I want to run that? Now, here's what's interesting. If you invest in a Blaze Pizza, you don't sell hot dogs.
That's right.
You sell pizza. Right. There's a recipe. Blaze says, hey, look, if this is what you're buying, this is what you're selling.
And it works.
And it works. It's really not that different with Amada.
That's right.
Now, for the first 2 years, it's not that different. Because, like you said in the case of Rob, once I get a base, a solid base, I've built a business, and now I'm growing, I now can expand. Where I might be limited in other franchise systems to what that franchise offers.
That's right.
But we're in a really, and this is actually what I get really excited about. we're in an incredibly dynamic industry. It's changing all the time.
Yeah.
So we get to change with it, and we get to adapt and grow and learn. I'm learning new stuff today that I didn't know 5 years ago. And I'm going, man, how is this going to apply to what we do? And this is really exciting. So I do think that there is this period where we want you to build a strong foundation. We wanted you to build, going back to my youth pastor days, foundation on solid ground, on rocks, right? That doesn't like get knocked over, right? We want you to have a solid foundation. And as you grow and you've built that business, now we can talk about creative ways to then grow. So you've built it, now you're growing, now we get to scale and expand.
Okay, so now a couple questions here from Jim. Jim, thank you so much for your question. Are most clients private pay for our business? Are there other possible ways to pay VA benefits, long-term care?
Yeah, great question, Jim. Yes, there are multiple ways for families to fund their home care needs. The two that you mentioned in your questions are there. There are actually others. And this is what I love about who we are. What I love about who we are is that our goal is to help families understand where they are currently, what their needs are going to be long-term, and assess with that family, how are they going to fund the care for their loved one? And it might be through, an out-of-pocket expense. It might be through their VA benefit. There is a VA benefit. It might be through a insurance policy or some other funding sources that really can help drive and maintain that family for whatever their care needs really are. So that's a really good question. Yeah, there are multiple ways. And actually, as our industry continues to change, we're on the forefront of working with CMS and Medicare as they're looking at applying certain policies through their Medicare Advantage plans to fund home care as well.
Now, we're talking about private pay, Jim. Something that I want you to talk about, Matt, is I don't know, sometimes if you're early in this process, you look at home care and think about, let's not talk about our revenues. Matt used to run a company that had $9 million in revenues.
Yeah.
Wasn't on Amada.
Nope.
And it was just here in Orange County.
We serviced Orange County and the Inland Empire.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not like a nationwide,
nope.
Nothing crazy.
No. We were local.
Yeah.
We're local. Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is the size of this.
Yeah.
And maybe if we bring it back down to the client, the fact that this isn't maybe what some people think is that this is like, hey, can you check in on my mom twice a week and cook her a meal? There is that.
Yep.
But when you talk about private pay, what does that really look like? What are the clients? What are the how much are people paying for the service? How many hours? What does that really look like?
Yeah, so it does vary. I will say your example of a couple hours to come in and check on a meal is not the norm at all. Like really the norm is someone coming in 4 hours a day, 4 to 5 times a week. So you're looking at, 16 to 20 hours a week of care, and families are paying for this out of pocket.
Yeah.
And your states are going to have, different, rates and all that stuff. But the truth of the matter is that exists. Our whole organization, 75%, when I was in my previous company, 75% of our revenue was private pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cash. Like literally scratching a check, or we're hitting the credit card or their debit card every 2 weeks. Yeah.
And that's where we're a little bit different. Is a lot of our revenues at Amada come from long-term care insurance.
Yeah.
What are we at right now in long-term care insurance? And in Asia is like almost half of it.
Yeah. So we're really unique in the marketplace where most agencies, when you look nationally, like 90 to 95% of the revenue is cash, like private pay.
Like you guys were.
Like we were. Absolutely. We shifted a little bit. We did get some contracts. We felt that was a good business model. But for Amada Senior Care, just north of 50% of our gross revenues from a national perspective come from long-term care insurance policies.
So can you talk a little bit about why you think that we have specialized, well, not why we specialize long-term care insurance, but why are others not? What is it about long-term care insurance? And maybe you can give a quick, for those of you who don't know what long-term care insurance means, give a quick synopsis of that. And
so sure. So long-term care insurance is it's an insurance policy that someone will invest into. They're usually in their mid to late 50s, and it's really to offset care costs long-term. And it can be used for skilled nursing stay. It can be used for nursing benefits if you want to have a nurse come to the house. So there's all these benefits built into it. And so you're paying just like you would with like your life insurance or your health insurance. You're paying a monthly premium.
Anybody can apply. It's not
Anybody.
a government program.
No, it's basically, what do you want?
Yep.
And what are you willing to afford to pay for what you want?
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. So everyone can have one.
Right.
Right. And then at some point in your life, you decide it's time. There's always a benefit. So like a life insurance policy, you have a death benefit, right? Well, with long-term care insurance, you have basically what they call a health benefit, and it's to cover your healthcare costs. And so there's a certain amount that's in that bucket. And you go, it's time for me to poke a hole in the bucket and start pulling out a little bit of money, right? And so that's what the long-term care insurance policy does. I think there's lots of reasons why other agencies choose not to go down that road. I think from Amada, we see it as such a valuable resource, but it is really not simple.
Yeah.
The policies can be complex, and working with insurance companies can be difficult. Imagine, Marcos, that you're 85 years old and you're having to get on the phone to talk to someone in another state about the benefits of your policy that's complex. There's forms, there's documents. You really do need someone to advocate for you,
right?
To speak for you on your behalf, to make sure that you get what you paid for.
Right.
And I think that's where
the insurance company certainly does not want you
to
claim on that.
Listen, I was actually on the phone today with one of our franchise partners, and policy had over $1 million in it. You think the insurance? Yeah.
What does that mean?
That means that the family has access to $1.4 million in care, over $600 a day.
That's amazing.
The insurance company did not want to scratch that check.
Of course not.
So we had to advocate for the family.
Right.
And I think that's what's really unique about Amada. I thought what was unique about my company, because we really had this heart for supporting, caring for, and providing great care for seniors.
Right.
Amada aligns with that. So going back to getting hired, and this was what was really important for me, and it was really important for Chad. Okay, so during my interview, we're at where were we? We're at Cheesecake Factory. Okay, and we're having lunch. And we're 10 minutes into the interview, and Chad basically stops the interview and says, Matt, let me tell you what our company's core values are. And he goes, I know you. I know what you did at the other company. I know how you competed. I know you built a good company. I know you know how to run a company, and I know you can train, and I know that you can do great for us from a skill set. He goes, but honestly, if you don't know our core values, align with our core values, and work with those core values as part of your daily work, he goes, it's not going to work anyway.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those. And we spent the next 45 minutes going over the company core values and how those would impact my daily role as I talk to franchise partners, as I talk to families, as I talk to our staff. That's when I went, that's who I want to work for.
That's cool.
Because the core values drive everything that we do.
Yeah.
Everything that we do. So yeah, I think that answered your question. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, and guys, thank you. I got more questions here. So let's see. So how do you feel about going to a new city where you maybe haven't lived in before?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's a roadblock?
It could be, but I will tell you, we have a lot of franchise partners who did that very thing and are super, super successful. So what's really important in our industry is your ability to either have or create and develop significant power partner relationships.
Yeah.
So if you're good at relationships, if we can coach you on who to talk to, which we do a great job of, to establish those relationships, it's actually not a roadblock. One of our best franchise partners did that very thing. Moved to a town. He had no connections. Kevin Fair. Yeah.
Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah. To Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
That's right.
Listen, I'm from Nashville. Murfreesboro's 30 minutes south. I'm still trying to get out there, right?
Yeah.
But that's what he did, right?
Yeah.
So he went from a place that he had zero connections, and he's literally one of our top 4 or 5 producers, and he's built a great business. But it's all about making sure that you have the right messaging, who to talk to and what to say, and to build those great relationships, and really knowing what your value proposition is in that marketplace. Kevin hit both home runs right away and has really built a fantastic business in the last 18, 20 months.
Yeah. I would say that probably even the franchisees that did build the business in the markets they were in still maybe they leveraged a little bit of their relationships, but they all had to go and build brand new relationships. Like this isn't, and a lot of our franchisees are medical device and pharmaceuticals. They're not like leveraging their relationships to build their business. It's all, a lot of it is new.
So Angela Griffin, so that's actually a really good question. I actually don't think it's really much of a roadblock. Roadblocks are typically there because you put them there. But everything that we do is to build around that. All right, you want to look at this next question? How do I find the volume of LTC contracts within my prospective territory? That's a good question, Angela Anderson. Oh, you asked 3 good ones. Let's see, does Amada franchise get that? Let's see, what does Amada franchise get that data and share? And what happened? Oh, what happens if the insurer rejects the claim? Very, very good questions. Yes, you can find that out. That's a little bit of our secret sauce.
So repeat again the question.
Yeah, the question would be, how do I find out the volume of LTC? That is something that we can help you with as we get a little bit further down the road. We do share that data with our franchise partners. We help them identify that. And what happens if the insurer rejects the claim? That's a great question. That's better suited for one of our training calls once you come on board with us.
But it can happen. And we advocate, and nobody is better advocating than we are. And I'll tell you about long-term care insurance. Listen, here's the deal. It's the estimates are only like 10 or 15% of the U.S. population have a long-term care insurance policy, and that's throughout the United States. So don't think about this as, oh, I'm in Nashville, or oh, I'm in Houston, Texas. I'm going to have more policies. The goal is it's rifle, right? You have to go after that 10 or 15% that exists throughout the United States. And if you target it, you'll be able to find it. Even if it takes you a little bit of time to be able to target that insurance market, it exists in every market.
And Alan asked a couple of questions. I've heard from family members to claim that LTC companies have a long lead time. Can you elaborate more on the processing time? Again, that's a little bit more in the weeds for what this call is about. Here's what you need to know about long-term care insurance claims processing. We have a system and a tool that we've developed that I really helped, and I've worked with our franchise partners who are in that 50-60% of their billable in long-term care insurance. And I've asked them, I go, what is, Ken Jensen in Colorado, what is your best way of working with your carriers? What are your best practices? And we took those best practices and we developed a tool that our franchise partners use when they're working with families on processing long-term care insurance claims. So yes, there can be challenges, but we really have built a way for whether you're day 1 or day 601, you really do have the ability to process claims and do it effectively and advocate for that family.
That's right. That is absolutely true.
All right, Mr. Michael, how have you identified and retained your best people? Oh man, I understand that salaries can be challenging.
I'm assuming caregivers. Caregivers. What he's thinking about.
You know, Michael, that is a great question. And one of the significant challenges that we're facing in our industry right now is caregivers. And looking at how do we build, for lack of a better word, our inventory of caregivers, so that when that person comes on board and they're now a new client, I can staff them with the appropriate caregiver. With our marketing department, we actually have developed over the last 6 months a strategy that has 6 points to it. That is, how do we, from our seat here in San Clemente, help every single franchise partner recruit and retain the best caregivers. So we really do have a direct to caregiver strategy. It involves multiple facets. But again, what we believe now from the Amada seats here is we're in a scalability mode. We're scaling. And so we have to put things in place that help us scale nationally. But we also put things in place that help our individual franchise partners scale locally. And so we give them the tools and the processes to build out so that they can really go out and find those best people on the caregiver side, but it's true on the internal and your internal staff side for your schedulers. And so we think we found some nuggets that we can really share with our franchise partners to say, hey, these are some things that you can do to find them. And I have a great book that I read. It was actually given to me by a former boss called Love 'Em or Lose 'Em.
Oh, cool.
And so we use some of those concepts about how do we love on our people so they don't want to go anywhere else. The challenge is caregivers may work for more than one company. I always say, and I tell our franchise partners, that the mode that we have our caregivers in now is they work for Amada. They work for Amada.
Yeah.
And every now and again, they might, if they feel gracious,
somebody else.
they might. But the reality is they work for Amada.
Yeah.
And when we embed that into who they are, sort of their DNA as a caregiver, they stick.
You know, it's interesting because when you first start out, who asked that? It was
That was Michael.
Michael. When you first start out, you know, finding caregivers is relatively easy because you have 0 clients.
Yeah.
So you don't need a tremendous amount of caregivers. So you can hire a bunch. What happens is you start getting to your million, 2, 3, 4, 5 million in revenues, and you need to have a huge amount of caregivers. And that's not just an Amada thing. It's the entire industry has a shortage.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was first getting into the home care side, that Tafa used to say, your net worth is not how many clients you have, it's how good you are at retaining caregivers.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that he or she who creates the best hiring HR environment for caregivers is going to win.
Yeah.
And so you're going to go, Michael and everybody on the phone, you're going to go from, oh my gosh, I need clients, and realizing clients are there. There's tons of clients. I need to be the most amazing recruiting firm that's ever lived.
So going back to running we'll just round up, say we ran a $10 million agency. That sounds better than 9.5. So we were running a $10 million agency. Our goal was to hire 15 caregivers every week.
Yeah.
We had to hire 15 caregivers every week.
Every week. Yeah.
Like, so I tell new franchise partners, once you start hiring caregivers, you never stop. The only thing you do is you increase how many you hire every week.
Yeah.
That's the only difference, right? So you never stop. You always hire. So we just had a goal. We said, hey, this is the number of caregivers, because we kept adding clients. The clients are always going to be there. So one of the challenges that you will face as a franchise partner is you're going to be living on 2 roads at the same time. So you're going to be on road 1, which Marcos, you just talked about, the sales side. I need to find clients. I need to find clients. Because clients equals revenue. Right. But you can't get off the other road, which is I have to hire caregivers. I have to have an operational side of my business. What we find is, so the other question you asked earlier about, you know, what's the biggest challenge? So the one challenge is you get distracted by the shiny objects. The other challenge is that you get too far up one road or the other. So I've hired all these caregivers, but I haven't done any sales. So now I'm losing my caregivers. Or I go crazy on the sales, but I can't staff the cases. And so now clients they're going other agencies. So it's a balancing act of I'm going to drive sales and hire caregivers, and I have to keep my feet in both roads, and I have to drive them at similar speeds. And so I might have to hire caregivers a little more this week and do more sales next week. But if I get too far down on either of those roads, I've really hurt myself, and I'm kind of now behind the 8 ball on one of those. So that's another big challenge.
And how do we help our franchise partners? Any business you start, there's always going to be these 4 or 5 factors that matter to your business that entrepreneurs are not good at. 1 or 2 of them, and they should be good at the other ones, right? So how do you do it?
Yeah. So you know, I was talking with someone here in the office several months ago. You know, because a lot of our franchise partners, as you mentioned, come from this pharma background or med device background. They're salespeople. So we have to convert them and baptize them to become business owners.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that's what we do. So we help you understand, what does it mean to be a business owner? And so we look at, what are your core KPIs in year 1? And we go, these are your defined core KPIs in year 1. That's our recipe. That's key performance indicators. Yeah, sorry. Key performance indicators. Say, hey, these are the numbers that you have to focus on in year 1, whether it's recruiting or sales. And so we're going to help you identify those, and we're going to help you understand, how do you run effective meetings, and how do you use like a scorecard to manage those key performance indicators to know if you're on track on both of those lanes. So we give you those tools, and every week our training and support department will work with you as a franchise partner. So we're meeting with you while you're meeting with your staff, and so that we can make sure that you're on good pace for both of those roads.
And what's interesting is none of it is rocket surgery. Like, you're not.
Or rocket science.
Yeah, exactly. None of it is. It's all very simple, which working out is simple, right? Some people say, I want to get in shape. You're like, well, you got to work out every day. You got to do this. And that's, I think, what your team does a very good job at.
Yeah.
Is keeping our franchisees accountable
Yeah.
to their goals.
Yeah.
Because they're not, by the way, guys, you're not employees when you're a franchisee. You own your own business, but you have this accountability partner that has achieved what you're trying to achieve. And so on these very simple key metrics, they're just going to walk you through those and make sure that you are executing on those. And if you don't, well, what roadblock are you having to try to get to the next stage?
So those key performance indicators, those scorecards allow us to get a little bit of a microscope into your business to go, oh, hey, this is where you're off. Like, let's look at the Amada system and where you off relative to other franchise partners at the same time in the business to go, hey, you're ahead of the curve, or hey, you're a little behind the curve. Let's talk about why and what we can do to implement some key strategies to help you get back on curve. So I think that's really, really important. And I like to say that what we do, it's easy. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? It's simple, but not easy. It's hard work, but the recipe is pretty simple. So Jim also asked, what are primary sources to obtain clients, advertising, hospitals? There are myriads of places. So I'll give you, Jim, an overarching statement where to find your clients, right? To obtain clients. It's anybody that touches the life of a senior. Anybody that touches the life of a senior can be a potential referral source for you. Could be a geriatric care manager, it could be a doctor, it could be someone at the senior center, it could be the discharge planner at the hospital or the dietitian at the skilled nursing facility. But anybody that touches the life of a senior is someone that can help you identify those clients.
You mentioned a lot of healthcare.
Yes.
And you can even go into the fiduciaries, financial planners,
absolutely,
insurance agents.
Absolutely. My second best referral source, when I was in the field, I was carrying the bag and I was selling every day. My second best referral source was a fiduciary, a state appointed fiduciary who dealt with high income clients who were no longer able to manage their own estate, and the family was in disarray. So the court stepped in and said, okay, this lady's now going to manage all your finances. So we took care of some very wealthy clients who were no longer able to make healthy decisions for themselves. And she was my second highest producing referral source. So there's lots of ways, Jim, to be able to handle that.
So then, okay, so I'm a brand new franchisee. Jim comes in, he's a brand new franchisee.
Yeah.
So if I'm told here's 300 different referral sources, Jim, go at them.
No, that's not what we do.
So how do we do that?
Yeah. So we look at two things. There's these two circles. Okay. One circle is what we call the medical infrastructure. Your hospitals, your skilled nursing facilities.
Are you doing a Venn diagram right
I'm
now?
doing a Venn diagram with my hands right now.
He's doing a Venn diagram. You can't see it.
You can't see it. It's beautiful.
There's a Venn diagram.
It's beautiful.
On the left of the Venn diagram is who?
On the left is the medical infrastructure. Okay. Those are your hospitals, your skilled nursing facilities, your doctors. That's the medical infrastructure. That's where a senior will have an acute episode. They're sick, they have pneumonia, they go to the hospital, they get treatment, and they're either going to go home or they're going to go get additional treatment somewhere else. Right. And so that's one pool of people you can talk to. And we're going to say, hey, we're going to identify with you we use what we call a sales mapping tool, where we identify your key targets in your area. They're in that medical infrastructure. And then the other circle is the financial infrastructure, your elder care attorneys, your fiduciaries, your elder, your geriatric care managers. They're in that world. Right. And then so we're going to identify key targets there. Right. And then we're going to set up a call cycle, a 5-day call cycle. So for those of you that maybe come from a sales background, this is like language that what we say is we have a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday call cycle, and we wash, rinse, repeat, and we do the same thing until we really identify those core referral sources. Yeah. So we have a way where we can identify both of those circles, those call points, and then we help you manage those into a call cycle so that you can begin building those relationships, whether you're in the market currently, or as we were asked earlier, if you're moving to that market. Doesn't matter. We identify. Yeah.
And I think you also go through and say, well, out of these 500, here is your low-hanging fruit.
Here's your low-hanging.
Let's focus on these. How many accounts are focus on these?
So can I change that a little bit?
Yeah.
So it's not about how many accounts. Okay. It's about how many meaningful conversations can I have in a given day with someone who touches the life of a senior.
Okay.
So it's about meaningful conversation. So I might go into a hospital and I might talk to 10 people and have a meaningful conversation with them.
That's because a hospital, a lot of people say hospital is a good referral source, but within the hospital,
there might be 10 or 15,
tons of different people. Yeah.
So it really comes down to not locations, but meaningful conversations that I have with someone that can influence the referral. So I focus on meaningful conversations, and I might go into one place and I might have 15 or 20 meaningful conversations over the course of a 5 or 6 hour period because I have access and I'm talking to people.
Yeah, right.
So it's about meaningful conversations, not necessarily about the number of buildings that I walk into. Yeah. So it's a little bit different mentality. As opposed to, well, I went to 12 places today.
Right.
I'm like, great. Well, how many people did you talk to? If the answer is 1, it's like, well, maybe there's a problem. But if I went to one place and talked to 12 people, it's great.
Okay. Got it. That's a good distinction. I'm glad you made that.
Good.
Actually, I didn't know about that distinction.
Yeah. Okay. So Angela also asked, are caregivers paid W-2 or 1099? W-2 all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah. W-2 all day long.
And we get into that on as we go through your discovery process. It is incredibly very important to make that distinction. We are a W-2 employer. Is there a magic number of? By the way, guys, we really appreciate your comments. I'll say something.
Yeah.
We're coming up on an hour and nobody has left the call. Like everybody who started the call with us is still here.
That's great.
That means a lot to us. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and these are really great questions.
Really
I think there was one at the we got these. I think we're at the bottom. Yes. Oh, the magic number. Is there a magic number of other franchises that represent too much competition in the area? Angela, another great question. The answer is no. But
let's say that the question
is there a magic number of other firms that represent too much competition in an area? The answer is no.
Yeah, like if I'm looking at a market and I do my research and there's 50 competitors, I'm not going to do this.
No, that's not the right number. Right. There's no magic number.
Right.
What really matters is your ability to differentiate yourself from the competition. What makes Amada unique in the home care space? Is it our ability to work with families on funding sources, or our ability to work with families on their long-term care insurance policies? But what makes you unique? If you can set up yourself as a unique and valued resource to the seniors and referral sources in your community, it doesn't matter if there's 1 or 1,000 competitors.
Right.
In Orange County, you want to hear crazy numbers? Yeah. In Orange County, there were 3 large home care agencies.
Right.
Mine was one. Amada was one, and there's another national company. Can I say the name?
Oh, yeah,
yeah, 24-hour home care.
Right.
Not a franchise system, all corporate-owned stores.
Yeah.
All 3 agencies in the same geographic area were all doing $10 million a year annually.
Yeah.
So the market will hold a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
We, the 3 of us, we calculated at one point owned almost 60% of the market between those 3 companies.
Yeah.
But we all had unique differentiators.
That's right.
And we still were different. And I think that's what's really important. It's not how many competitors, it's what you're differentiating between the rest, because there's actually, we're in the silver tsunami. There's seniors turning 65. It's like 10,000 a day. Yeah. The market that we're in is ever expanding. It's like space. It just keeps going and growing. So the market's there. You just have to be able to differentiate yourself.
Yeah, to this day, Angela, again, we have about 120 territories, and not once did we ever do the research of how many competitors are in the market. Every single one of our franchisees who have opened a location opened it without the consideration of how many competitors are in there. And by the way, give me a city and state, and we'll tell you right now, lots of competitors.
Yep.
Like just name a city and state, we'll say, lots of competitors. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and one of the things that training and support does, we've developed what we call competitive analysis call. We actually ghost call with you as a franchise partner some of the people that we help you identify as key competitors.
The market leaders,
The market leaders. And so then we're going to know before you open your doors who your key competitors are and how you're going to sell against them.
Yeah, that's right.
So we give you a leg up.
That's what matters.
That's what matters.
That's it.
And maybe you want to answer, Marcos, the next 2 from Alan and Michael, because I think those are probably a little bit more in your wheelhouse.
Hey, that's a good question. So Amada provides franchisees geographies, and the U.S. is only so big. How many franchisees will Amada cap at? Alan, that's a question that I love, because we are not going to be 1,000 franchisees. That's not our goal. Here's our big, hairy, audacious goal, and I don't want you to take this as a promise of revenue. This is just our goal. So our goal is to have 200 entrepreneurs that are franchisee, Amada franchisees, who are at least doing $5 million in gross revenues. That is our goal. So what that means is we'll probably be at maybe, I don't know, about 300 locations in the US. And then we're fine with stopping, which means I'm gonna have to go find another job. Matt will be really, really busy, but we're happy with that at about 300 locations. And then what we're gonna do is work with those entrepreneurs and to get everybody as profitable and as big as we can possibly get them. But our goal is, and think about this, if you have 200 entrepreneurs who do $5 million in gross revenues a year, that's $1 billion company. But more than that, you're serving millions and millions of seniors, but you're doing it with a small group that's powerful, that can be trained effectively.
Yeah.
Instead of 1,000 entrepreneurs, like a lot of our competitors, they brag about, we have 1,000 locations, or and it's like that. No, I would never put a competitor down. I think especially in this industry, we have amazing, wonderful competitors. It's just not us.
Yeah. Can I add one thing to that too?
Yeah.
So when we look at that number, we're looking at 200 franchises doing 5 million. It's a $1 billion agent company, right? Not only, like Marco said, are we providing care for a significant number of seniors. We're looking at going, over 1 million seniors served, right? That's one of our goals. But think of it this way. Think about the jobs and opportunities that we create for other people to provide care for the seniors and be a part of your organization. So not only are we generating revenue and providing care, we're creating jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a really key component for someone who wants to get into what we do, that we're job creators. And I think that's a really amazing part of what we can provide to our communities.
Absolutely. Hey, another question here about, can I print out the franchise disclosure document? Angela, absolutely. As soon as you download the PDF, you can print it, and it's a lot of paper. But I know that for me, I would rather read something on paper than on a computer. Just make sure you recycle after you print that thing.
And plant 2 trees.
And plant 2 trees. What are the 12-month startup costs? So Michael's asking about the startup costs. So we cover this a lot more in detail in what we call our franchise disclosure document review that I do with you guys. And you can reach out to Tim Valencia and start scheduling that. I'll tell you this, we estimate that in your first 3 to 6 months, that you can spend anywhere between $70,000 to $180,000 getting the business open. And we talk about first 3 to 6 months because we want to shorten and be very conservative instead of talking about your first year. And that includes your $48,000 franchise fee. So again, about 70 to 180 is the range that we have seen our franchise partners spend, including the $48,000 franchise fee. Now, what is the difference between, 70 and 180 is like one's double the other. And the reason we have such a large range is we just want to let you know that it depends on how you run your business, how fast you grow, how slow you grow. There's a lot of factors there. So we always want to make sure that you have access to capital of at least 180. So you have that to be able to invest into the business. Doesn't mean you're going to use it all, but at least you have access. And that's just for your business, not to run your household and pay your mortgage and pay for the kids' soccer. And so that's very important to us. And as you get to trust us more and more, and you're working with Tim Valencia here, our VP of Franchise Development, he's going to work with you on your application. And you really want to be just truthful with your application. Here's what I've got. Here's what's going on. We do have a really, really good rating with the Small Business Administration. And there are loans and there are ways that you can fund the business above and beyond what you've got, and we can help you through those things. So work with Tim on that. How close are you to 200 $5 million franchisees? Amada is a good program. Seems like you are close to this number. What territories are left? Big question, Alan. It's a big, hairy, audacious goal. If you look at our franchise disclosure document, we have our oldest, and we have only been franchising since 2012. So we're still kind of a baby when it comes to franchising. Our oldest franchisee, which is really cool, our oldest franchisee last year did over $5 million in gross revenues. He started his business in 2012. Our second oldest franchisee is also there as well. So it's a matter of time. I mean, we really find that it's a matter of time. I have to be really careful though. This is not a promise that any of you guys will. What you do is, as soon as you get our franchise disclosure document, go to item 19, and it shows the revenues of all of our franchisees. Literally, you can open that document and see the gross revenues of all of our franchisees by market. It's all listed on there. And we know that, getting to a business to $5 million is no joke. I mean, that is a big, serious business, and it's going to take people time to do that. But all of our systems are designed to get entrepreneurs the opportunity to get there. And territories left. I mean, we have 120 right now. We'll probably grow to about 300 territories. So the delta there is still available. Let's see here. How many franchisees fail in the first 12, 34, and 36 months? That's also in the franchise disclosure document. It's actually very, very few numbers. Failure, there's different definitions of failure. We've had people transfer their business and realize this wasn't for them. But you look at our franchise disclosure document, and it's a very, very small number.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Now we're coming to 11:30. So we've been with you for an hour. Let me see here. I think we covered all the questions, Matt.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we did a pretty good job of getting to them.
I think we did. So Matt, here's what I want you to end the call with.
Yeah.
You've seen so many you've worked with so many franchisees.
Yeah.
What is your recommendation to somebody looking at this business? What's your biggest advice to somebody who's considering a home care and considering a mom?
Yeah. So a couple of things. One is very practical, and I'm going to say one has to be internal. Okay. So the practical is when you're looking at any system, specifically home care, is it and do they offer a business on a shelf? Can I go, I'm buying an Amada franchise and I'm going to go to the shelf and I'm going to pull it off the shelf and I'm going to open the box, and inside the box are all the other little boxes that I need to teach me how to run my Amada business.
Yes.
That's how we're structured. So if we say, hey, we're going to create there's a new program, it's a program in a box. It just gets added to your box of business, and we give you everything you need to support that particular model. So we really do believe, and with training and support, I was talking to a franchise partners, they were just coming on board, that we're with our franchise partners from the day they birth their business, the day they open the doors, to the day they execute their exit strategy.
That's cool.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
It's ongoing into eternity if you stay in the business, or you transfer it to your kids, or you sell it and buy your island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Not that will happen.
But whatever it is, from the day you start to the day you execute your exit strategy, training and support is there to coach you, teach you, mentor you, and give you the tools to be successful.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really important when you're looking to invest in a business. Right? Yeah. The second thing is internal. And this is what I tell all of our franchise partners when they come to our Amada University training week, right? The 1 week intensive of, hey, we're going to show you the nuts and bolts of how this works. Yeah. It's this. If you come into home care and you want to make money, you will, because the market exists. But you'll always feel a little shallow, a little less than. That truly the ones who are great in our business, our Kevins, our Kens, our folks in New Jersey, that, the outer bridges that are blowing up, it's because they have this driving passion to help a senior. When you take that passion to help a senior, the vulnerable of our community, the ones who, they need the advocate, they don't know what choices to make, and you couple that with this desire to build a great business, I think you're unstoppable. I think you're totally unstoppable. I think those two things have to go together.
I couldn't agree more. What a great way to end this. It is a ministry.
Yeah.
For the clients, for the caregivers, the people you're employing, for your staff, you see it that way, and it's really hard not to be successful.
Yeah.
When the problems happen, when the caregiver calls in sick, when your hair is on fire, all of that is worth it because you get such a huge payback of the feeling you get.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's it. Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Matt, this was of all calls I've ever done with a guy named Matt, this is my favorite one.
I love it.
This is the best one.
We'll have to do it again.
We'll do it again.
Perfect.
So guys, listen, please call Tim Valencia and continue through your discovery process. Realize that it doesn't matter what time it takes you. This is just about going through the steps. Right before you become a franchisee, you're just walking through certain steps, and then you're going to walk through other steps to build your business if you become a franchisee. Keep working with Tim. Tim actually has helped every single one of our franchisees buy an Amada Senior Care. He has seen everything. He's counseled with people. He knows people from all walks of life. Wherever you are right now, just keep working with Tim. Call him. And he's the kind of guy that you can text at 12 o'clock at night. I do. So don't text him at 12 o'clock at night. But he is the guy that will walk you through this process. And as you get to trust him, it'll be a great relationship because he'll be able to help you through these steps. And by the way, he's also the kind of guy that if this is not for you, let him know, and we part as friends. We are totally okay with whatever you decide to do. Our biggest goal, kind of what Matt was talking about with clients and caregivers, nothing would make us happier than you calling us 5 years from now and saying, I opened Billy Bob's Burgers and I love my life. That would make us super happy.
Yep.
But probably happier if you started an Amada Senior Care.
Yes.
But we'd be happy for you. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, Matt.
Yep. Anytime. Thanks, everybody. Really look forward to seeing you and walking with you through this process.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.